Pizza and beer. Folks, I love pizza and beer. But I'll share with you what I'm more passionate about, and that's living a healthy lifestyle. And of course, part of living a healthy lifestyle requires one to eat well, and that's something I've always really struggled with. When I was 10 years old, my sister was diagnosed with severe anaphylaxis, and at the time, I didn't really know what that meant, but basically, anything that a 10-year-old would like to eat, and most of the stuff in our pantry, would cause my sister's throat to swell and eventually close, making it impossible for her to breathe. 5 years later, when I was 15, I remember spending Christmas Eve at the Peace Arch Hospital with my family, wondering if we were going to be spending Christmas morning with my sister. Now, my sister's doing okay, but what I do want to illustrate was that her allergies fundamentally changed our household, and even more fundamentally, changed the way we ate. How was that? Well, at the time of her diagnosis, our family naturopath recommended that my sister go on a strict diet that required her to blend most of her meals. And in an effort to support her, my mom joined her, and for 5 weeks straight, they blended a solution of rice protein powder, flaxseed, and water. That was frankly the most disgusting thing I've ever tried in my life. It was hardly palatable. But after those 5 weeks, we realized one thing. The blender we had wasn't going to suffice for the amount of volume we were blending things. So my parents decided to invest in what at the time, and to my mind still is to this day, the premier blender on the market, and that was a Vitamix. And to this day, that still sits proudly on our kitchen island, a cornerstone of the Jackson family household. But what I do want to add is that this did have a rather negative impact on my life, and not only because I was more concerned about my sister's welfare, but also because my social life took a bit of a hit. Imagine being 10 years old and trying to invite friends over when they know fully well the Jacksons are pushing on them a sandy-colored schlop because they don't eat people food anymore. But while it was a sacrifice on my social life, I wasn't ready to sacrifice friendship, because I love friendship. So I discussed with my parents, and I called it the Jackson Pantry Diversification Strategy. And I discussed with them about ingredients we could have that were Carling approved, and experimented with smoothies in my kitchen that would incentivize 10-year-olds to come over. I want to fast forward a few years later to when I was graduating university from Trinity Western University. I was studying political science and philosophy. While many of my fellow graduates were getting rather typical grad gifts like phones, watches, and rings, my parents gifted me a Vitamix. And me and my Vitamix were heading out west to study business at the University of British Columbia. And I was moving with 4 friends, and our house looked a lot like that one. More Animal House than Martha Stewart, and there was no shortage of pizza and beer. But I was still conscious of eating well, and I did have my Vitamix, so I was blending. And I remember one day very specifically at UBC. I was just finishing a basketball practice. It was a gorgeous May day, much like today. I was walking home, my shirt was off, the sun was out, and I was excited to make a smoothie. And I remember opening up my refrigerator door, pulling over the vegetable cooler, and seeing a mess, a disgusting mess of black, wilted, and brown Swiss chard and kale. And it was frankly an awful experience. I closed the vegetable cooler, I didn't clean it. I opened up a freezer door, and maybe it was frankly a very unhealthy, bright pink smoothie. I closed it and marched upstairs to my good friend Mike, who later became my co-founder, and said, "Mike, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a solution. We got to get our veggies." And that's where it all started. It's the same shirt, by the way. SmoothieVeggies.com. We trucked in 3 tons of soil into our backyard, and we started to experiment within ourselves in a small community, different smoothie combinations. And at the end of that summer, we realized 2 things. 1, we were never going to serve the market size we wanted to within the constraints of our backyard. And 2, what we were doing was illegal. So we picked up the phone and we called farms all over the Vancouver area. And as we started to build out these relationships with farmers, we saw some recurring themes. And one of those recurring themes was actually a real problem. Local farms have a really difficult time getting their product to a marketplace. Vancouver local farms simply cannot produce at the volumes that require for minimum orders from your Safeways, your Save-Ons, or Walmarts. And the folks who do buy from local farms, like your restaurants, your local enthusiasts, your CAZs, and your farmers markets, don't provide enough to make ends meet. Well, Mike and I really couldn't find a way to get our veggies. These farmers couldn't find a place to get them. And that was a special time for our business. And I'll share with you, because we had this personal problem that we're so excited with this solution for, but slowly that was reinforcing a much larger social problem. And that was that maybe smoothie veggies could have a real impact on a dying local food system like we never imagined. I started this presentation sharing with you how I love pizza and beer. Because when I'm having pizza and beer, I feel great. But 38 minutes later, guess what? I don't feel great. I feel awful. It's sort of like this 30-minute purgatory where I'm anticipating how bad I'm going to feel. But I continue to eat them, and I want to share with you why that is. And I think it's simple. I think it's because it's easy. Pizza's convenient, it tastes good, and it's filling. But what I don't want to do, or what I don't want to encourage to anybody there is to drop what you like eating, because I still pizza girl, and I hope you still eat the things you like too. But what I do want to encourage you is that there's things you can do to change real behavior when it comes to your diet. And I was lucky because 15 years ago, my family brought a blender in to eat healthy. And I'm not talking about the rice protein powder flaxseed solution, but I'm talking about the 10-year-old experimenting with himself. These were meaningful ways I was making change, and I still do to this day. For the past year, I've begun to think very differently about food, and not just sort of, inputs, outputs that your body experiences every day, but the impact that food has on your community. And that's, where it's coming from or who you're purchasing from. That has an economic value, an economic impact on an individual that I never used to appreciate before. And that's what gets me really excited about what we're doing at Smoothie Veggies. Every day we come to the kitchen and we're making veggies that are going to get eaten, a convenient option for folks that tastes good, while at the same time having a tremendous impact on our community and the world at large. Thank you so much.